Hey guys, let's get more news about Steelers, but first, don't forget to subscribe and leave your like. ESPN analyst calls out Steelers as pretenders. The Pittsburgh Steelers are one of just 9 teams to win their first 2 games, starting the season 2-0 with wins against the Atlanta Falcons and the Denver Broncos. That being said, the 2 wins haven't looked pretty. ESPN's Ben Solak has gone as far as to label the Steelers as pretenders, believing their early success could be a fluke. In his rating of all the 2-0 teams through 2 weeks, Solak labeled the Steelers and 3 other teams as pretenders as well as labeling the other 5 as contenders. The Steelers are, in theory, a team that wins with stifling defense and methodical offense. But even as the system has worked over the past 2 weeks, their offense is in the bottom 5 in success rate. They have more wins than they have touchdowns, for goodness sake. What coach Mike Tomlin pulls off every season is impressive, but I cannot rightfully call the Steelers contenders. Solak wrote. While the defense has performed to a high level, the same cannot be said for the offense. One such example was the 51-yard deep pass thrown by Justin Fields to star wideout George Pickens. A holding call from Broderick Jones away from the play nullified the pass, leaving Pickens with a stat line of just 2 catches for 29 yards against the Denver Broncos. Fields showed why the Steelers wanted him on that play, yet the other parts of the offense held the team back. Without the stifling defense against the Falcons, the complete lack of touchdowns would have easily cost them the game. Chris Boswell stepped up and made 6 field goals, but the team cannot rely on that every time. Justin Fields has had 107 yards and a passing touchdown taken away by penalties. In order for the Steelers to shed their pretender status, they will have to improve their discipline on the offensive side of the ball. Neither of their first 2 opponents were projected to be at the upper echelon of the league, but that will change as the season goes on. The Pittsburgh Steelers will head into Week 3, 2-0, and looking at a pretty big decision at quarterback. With Justin Fields keeping the season undefeated, the Steelers will determine whether or not he remains the starting quarterback for another week, keeping Russell Wilson on the bench as he nurses a calf injury. It's unclear how close Wilson is to returning, but one Pittsburgh legend believes it shouldn't matter, and that Fields should remain the starter. Speaking on his podcast Footballin', former Steelers quarterback and future Hall of Famer Ben Roethlisberger explained why he'd pick Fields to remain the starter in Pittsburgh. He's not turning the ball over, they're 2-0, big test this week with the Chargers coming to town. To me, if Russ is healthy, I'm sticking with Justin, Roethlisberger said. I said it last week I wouldn't, but what I saw, against Denver, I think he has earned and deserves the right to stay there. The deep ball that Justin threw on the run to the right that got called back because of the penalty. Unbelievable throw, unbelievable catch. The door is very much open for Fields to remain the starter moving forward, and with the offense finding the end zone in Week 2 and still playing clean football, it's hard to argue against Roethlisberger. In my opinion right now, he has not turned the ball over. Even if they were 2-0 and his stats were just okay and he's had a turnover or 2, I know there was a bobbled snap today, but I don't think he was even ready for the snap. So that's not on him, and they got it back, Roethlisberger said. Head coach Mike Tomlin will confirm the team's plans during his Week 3 press conference, giving some clarity to whether or not Fields get another opportunity. With each week that passes with a win and Fields playing well, though, it feels more and more as if the Steelers will stick with what's working. Colts sign former Pittsburgh Steelers pass rusher. The Indianapolis Colts have signed former Pittsburgh Steelers edge rusher Genard Avery to their active roster. Avery was elevated from the Colts practice squad after they placed star defensive tackle DeForest Buckner on injured reserve with an ankle injury. Avery should give the Colts more depth on the edge. He has been with the team since 2023, but missed the entire season with an injury. They re-signed him in March, but he did not make the final roster, so they stashed him on the practice squad. Now, Avery gets a chance to show he can be more than that. Avery's stint in Pittsburgh was short-lived after the fit between the two sides became suboptimal. He was with the Steelers in 2022 during their training camp in Latrobe, and shortly after he was cut was signed by the Tampa Bay Buccaneers. A fifth-round pick in the 2018 NFL Draft out of Memphis, Avery started his career with the Cleveland Browns and stayed there from 2018 to 2019. His longest stint in the NFL came with the Philadelphia Eagles from 2019 to 2021. Avery has 8.5 sacks in his career. Does Justin Fields need Steelers trade for veteran receiver? The Pittsburgh Steelers are 2-0 to start the season, but their success has been primarily due to their defense. The Steelers' offense, led by quarterback Justin Fields, has struggled to find rhythm and consistency through the first two games. Fields has managed to secure wins, but penalties and a lack of explosive plays have held the offense back. One area in need of improvement is wide receiver depth. Outside of George Pickens, who has 8 catches for 114 yards on the season, Pittsburgh has received limited production from their other receivers. Van Jefferson, the current number 2 option, has recorded just 3 catches for 20 yards across 2 games, while Calvin Austin has added only 2 catches for 13 yards. In light of this, Bleacher Report's Christopher Knox suggested that the Steelers could explore a trade for New York Giants veteran wide receiver Darius Slayton. Slayton, who has posted 700 receiving yards or more in 4 of his first 5 NFL seasons, would bring a reliable and experienced presence to the Steelers' offense. If acquired, he would immediately slot in as a proven second option behind Pickens, providing Fields with another dependable target to help open up the passing game. While it's uncertain whether the Giants would trade Slayton this early in the season, his name could emerge as a trade target as the deadline approaches, especially if the Giants continue to struggle. As the Steelers look to improve their offensive production, the potential addition of a veteran wide receiver like Darius Slayton could provide the spark they need. We will say it this way: if Pittsburgh wants Fields to take a next step up, the Steelers might need to step out and get him some help. Meanwhile, with a critical Week 3 matchup against the Los Angeles Chargers on the horizon, the Steelers will face a tough test against a team boasting a high-powered offense. And you, fan? What do you think of the situation of Justin Fields? Leave your opinion in the comments.